So, Fahim, continuing from last day where we left off, we were standing on the edge of a cliff and throwing a rock straight up and then having it go whooshing past our feet and landing at the bottom of the cliff. A ball is thrown straight up at 12.5 meters per second, hits the ground after 8.85 seconds. We had calculated how high the cliff was. We did start to notice, Mika and Braden, that we're finding displacements. And so when you calculate the height of a cliff, you'll often get a negative answer because the ball or the rock ended up below from where you started. We won't panic. We'll say, oh yeah, this is going to give me a displacement. I did end up below from where I started. I probably did this right. We did, what's the maximum height of the ball, where we had to add the little blue section to the red section to get the yellow section. C, what's the impact velocity of the ball? What's this asking me to find? A velocity? Yeah, which one? Yep. VF. And it's not zero. Again, people want to say, when you hit the ground, isn't it zero? After you hit the ground, when you're no longer in free fall, it's zero. But while you're in free fall, I know it's not zero. Do you know how I know? Because if I ask you to do a belly flop off of your desk onto the cement, it'll hurt. If it was zero, it wouldn't hurt. So I totally agree with you, Cole. Let's all write down VF equals question mark. Cole, what was VI? I don't think VI was zero. Go back to the beginning of the question and read. Go back to the beginning of the question and read. What? Yeah, by the way, what if instead of throwing it straight up, what if I'd thrown it straight down? It wouldn't be 12.5. What would it be? No? How could I show straight down? How could I show straight down? Negative 12.5. Okay, anyways. 12.5. Oh, I'm in free fall. I know A is negative 9.8. You don't need to tell me that. Cole, I need one more thing. Was there anything else the question told me in the original data? I've scrolled down. Oh, did it? Oh, easy peasy then. T equals, yeah. Cole, looking for an equation that's got a VF, a VI, and a T. There is one. Yeah, and none of these are zeros, so I had to read them all. And again, I said yesterday, but I'll repeat myself. I said yesterday, but I'll repeat myself. See how I did that? Repeating myself. I'm putting the vector symbols just to remind myself, pay attention to direction, pay attention to direction. It's going to be positive 12.5 plus negative 9.8 for 8.85 seconds. When it hits the ground, which way is it traveling? Up or down? Be obvious. When it hits the ground, which way is it traveling? Up or down? Be obvious. Down. Am I expecting a positive or a negative velocity here? When it hits the ground, which way is it traveling? You said it. Down. When it hits the ground. So am I expecting a positive or a negative velocity here? Yeah, I'm expecting a negative. In other words, if I got a positive on my calculator, I've got a built-in error check. I know I've made a typo. One of the things I will always try and do for the rest of the year is give you some of these little things you can have in the back of your brain so that you can catch yourself if you make a typo. I have no idea what the answer is here. 12.5 plus negative 9.8 times 8.85. Cole, did you get negative 74.2? Oh, and now he's typing. Oh, do we get negative 74.2? Yes? Okay. And again, a gentle reminder, if I sense you're not typing, I'm coming at you. Right, Scott? Right. Meters per second. It's also an easy way to stay active in the lesson first thing in the morning when you're all tired and groggy and your teacher has had too much caffeine and is, scaring you all. Oh, example 5. I like example 5. I like example 5. Example 5 is the same as the one we just did, except straight down. Okay. How high is the cliff? What's this asking me to find? And I'm going to get a displacement. I'm actually going to end up with a negative answer. Do you know how I know? Because the ball ended up below from where we started. What else do I know? What's VI? Yeah. Negative 26.5. Now, on a test, I might put the negative in front of it just to help you. I might not. I usually go through the test after I've created it and I ask, how tough is this? Do I need to tweak it, make it a little tougher? Oh, I'll expect them to catch some of the negatives. Oh, do I need to make it a little easier? I'll stick the negatives in. But here, definitely, even something as basic as, oh, I might not bold font or underline this in the question. I might say, you just got to spot it on your own. Oh, no, I'll bold font and underline it. That's kind of how I can tweak some of the questions' difficulty level. I totally agree that VI, negative 26.5. A is negative 9.8 because we're in Freefall. And I guess that 6.85 T. Hey, Braden, I'm looking for an equation that's got a D, a VI, an A, and a T in it. There is one. Which one, kiddo? I don't know. I haven't memorized them. You're going to read it. D equals VIT plus a half AT squared is correct. What do I need to get by itself? Bonus the D, which it already is. So, yay. D equals VIT. Hey, that was Freefall. Negative 9.8 meters per second squared. Thank you for taking part and helping us experience that. Plus a half AT squared. It's going to be negative 26.5, 6.85 plus 0.5, negative 9.8, 6.85 squared. Again, you should be able to type that in one line. Try typing it in one line for practice so you can see how you do all of that on your calculator. Let's see, Mr. Dewick. Negative 26.5 times 6.85 plus 0.5 times negative 9.8 times 6.85 squared. By the way, I don't know if you remember at the very beginning of the year, Clody, I said, I don't show timesing with brackets on my calculator. I use the times button. Can you see that's way easier to read? This with brackets when I handwrite is easier to read, but the times sign on my calculator is way easier to read. I would not want to type this as negative 26.5 close bracket, bracket, 6.85 close bracket, plus bracket, 0.5 bracket, bracket, negative 9.8 bracket, bracket, 6.85 squared bracket. I just, that doesn't look clean to me at all. I have no idea what's going on there. I think the first one is a little more obvious. Did y'all get negative 411? Negative 411? Units? Meters? Because it's a height, and I said this yesterday, technically height is a scalar, and we would say 411 meters, but if you keep your answer as negative because you found the displacement, I'll give you full credit. Later on, eventually this year, I'll expect you to know the difference, but not yet. B. How high is the ball after 2.5 seconds? You know what? I think it's exactly the same question, except what? Okay, stop. All of you right now, see if you can figure out how to bring back on your calculator the previous line. See if you can figure out how to bring back that line. Because it seems to me all I need to do is replace the 6.85s with what? I'm going to do that. I'm not even going to show any work. Now, I would never do it this way on a test or a quiz. I would show every step. But, would I do it this way on my homework? Yeah! Negative 96.9. Now, if you can't figure out how to bring back the previous line, almost all of your calculators should be able to do that. we need to then look at your manual. That's a really, really handy thing to be able to do. Tweak one number, done. Negative 96 point, oh, Eric, negative 96.8? Well, if I go to 3 sig figs, is that 8 going to stay an 8 or become a 9? Darn right it is, because I round off. I don't chop off, right? Right. What is the impact velocity of the ball when it hits the ground at the base of the cliff? Again, I think this is asking me to find VF. Okay. I'm not going to relist everything. I have it listed up here. You know what? It's going to be VF equals VI plus AT. On a test, I would write out the numbers next. Is this a test? Let's see if we can go straight to our calculator, especially because the VF is already by itself. What was VI? What was VI, Mr. Dewick? Negative 26.5 plus negative 9.8 times 6.85. I'm okay if in your homework you can get there in one line like that. Honestly, I'm okay if in your homework you can do the whole schmear on your calculator without showing any work. Just please don't ever do that on a quiz or a test. Show every single step on a quiz or a test. That way, if you make a typo on your calculator, I can still give you all the part marks, right? If you don't show me any work, if you just write an answer and you make a typo, maybe you, instead of typing 26.5, you went 25.6, which happens. I got to give you 0 if I don't see any of the work. But if you show me the equation, I can give you that half mark. If you show me the numbers, I can give you that half mark. In fact, if I noticed that you'd copied this down wrong and that was your mistake, I would give you 1.5 out of 2. But not if you don't show me the work. What was it? Negative 93.6? Is that right? Meters per second. I like example 6. I like example 6. I like example 6. Example 6 is a nice question. Ooh. Maddie, what's the first thing it says surrounded by asterisks? 3 words. This is tough, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to consider it fair game. Okay? What's this want me to find? Oh, by the way, I'm going to point out, at the very beginning of this lesson, I read through the whole question with all of you. You'll notice now, as we get further and further, I'm not going to read through the whole question. I'm just going to ask you, figure it out. So now you're going to read it yourself. What's it asking me to find? I'm going to give you less and less cues as you get better and better at this. This is how we progress, right? What's it asking me to find? I agree. Are we in free fall? A is negative 9.8. I often do that first just so I don't forget, because sometimes I'll forget. Ooh, what's that 18? Yep. What else do I know? Yep. Displacement is not 82. So that's the first area. This is tough. Okay? For a candy, who can tell me what the displacement is? Not 82. What? Are we ending up above or below from where we started? Okay? So the first aha moment is, you can put in brackets in the notes to remind you why we did that below. And here's the problem. If you miss that, if you call it positive 82, you might not get an error on your calculator or something telling you that you've done something wrong. Sometimes you will. Sometimes you'll actually get a math error. That's the universe saying to you, bruh, you told me you accelerated down and ended up above from where we started from. Nuh-uh. But not always. Okay. Hey, Maddie, which equation? Yep. Are any of these zeros? No. Up until now, I have had you use this equation to find t. I did that in lesson 4 and lesson 3, but I made VI 0, don't write this down, so that that vanished and you could get the t by itself. Unfortunately, here, nuh-uh. Who did pre-calc 11 last semester? Do you know what kind of an equation this is? It's a quadratic. Do you know how I know? It's got a squared. You could solve this, don't write this down, but for those of you who did pre-calc last year, you could solve this by going, well, negative 82 equals 18t minus 4.9 t squared. Don't write that down. I did the half of negative 9.8 in my head because I can. And then, oh, who remembers how you, those of you that did this, how do you solve a quadratic? What was step 0? And I'll give you a hint. 0. What was step 0? Before you even started, what did you have to do? Make it equal to, that's why I call it step 0. This is how I always taught it. Step 0. You had to make it equal to 0. So you plus the 82 to this side. And then you could use x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You would have this. Where that's A, that's B, and that's C. And if you're really good with the quadratic formula, go ahead. Or, if you know how to use the quadratic solver that many of your calculators have built in, go ahead. How many of you know how to use your quadratic solver? Oh, you pathetic, poor people. And many of you have not taken pre-calc yet. In fact, I think you're probably just right around where you're learning about quadratics and parabolas and things in pre-calc this semester. Okay. Maddie, do I know 3 things? Then I can find a 4th. Not time. What else can I find? What's the other thing that's not up here yet? Yep. So here's the workaround, okay? So you can put can't solve, and you can, if you want to, in brackets, you can write yet. So what's our workaround? We're going to find VF. You can find that. I'm looking for an equation that's got a VF, an A, a VI, and a D in it. There is one. Now I'm going to pause. I don't know how all of you are doing on this. If you're still at the stage where you can't find the equation from the green sheet, you want to be coming in for flex the next couple of days, and I can help you in practice. Or if it's just that you haven't done any of the homework, you need to be doing the homework. You, by today, should be able to find the equation. Doesn't have to be instant, but you should be able to find the equation. I think most of you are there, so we're good. Which one? Okay. What was I trying to find? Originally time, but what am I going to find as a workaround instead? Oh, I got the VF by itself. Or do I? Square root. Okay, so I'm going to get this. VF equals the square root of 18 squared plus 2 times negative 9.8 times, and this is where you have to put the negative 82 in. Sometimes if you forget the negative, you will get an error on your calculator that'll tap you on the shoulder, but not always. Get your calculators out, boys and girls. Because this is a complicated one, I'm going to type what's inside the square root first and then go square root button. I'm going to go 18 squared plus 2 times negative 9.8 times negative 82 equals square root answer button. You'll get 43.945. Now, is this my final answer? I'm going to carry some extra sig figs because I'm using this to find the answer. I don't want to round off. In other words, I would never round this to 44, even though it's close. I've just introduced a bunch of error when I find t. I'm going to go 43.9454. 6 sig figs should give me 3 sig figs of accuracy. 43.9454. For a candy, why is that wrong? Because it is wrong. Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Why does it have to be negative? We're going down. Yes, we're hitting the ground going. Are you saying my calculator lied to me? Everybody, in your head, what's the square root of 25? In your heads, what's the square root of 25? Or negative 5. Because negative 5 times negative 5 is also 25. Your calculator, whenever you hit the square root button, Fahim, will always assume you want the positive answer, even though it's 2. And most of the time we do. Not here. Hey, what did I write in the very beginning? 3 words? This is. The reason this is tough, I really should have said tricky. You really have to pay attention here, and each time you get a value from your calculator, now you need to say, is that right? I have to add the negative. So we can make a little note. V final, geez, do it, is downwards. Candy for you. Who got the negative 82? I owe somebody, what? Who do I owe the candy for that? Who's at the negative? You? Okay, so don't let me forget. Now we're pretty good. Is there an equation that has a VF, an A, a VI, and a T? I'm going to ignore the D because the D was what led me into that quadratic equation that I don't know how to solve yet. So, okay. Maddie, is there an equation that's got an A, a VI, a T, and a VF in it? The first one. Yes? Get the T by itself, please. I'll give you a hint. T equals. What's VF? Negative 43.9454 minus, I've scrolled down, what was VI? 18 all over. Okay. Is this a fraction? Oh, don't type yet. Show you another shortcut, because of course I am. First of all, is this a fraction? Bracket. Instead of typing negative 43.9454, I'm going to hit my negative button and then hit my answer button, because that's negative 43.94542069 going on. Why not? Less writing, more accuracy. Minus 18 divided by negative 9.8. Time is a scalar. I better get a positive. I hope I do. 6.32 seconds. Oh, by the way, those of you that are in pre-calc this semester, when you come to the quadratic formula lesson, if you would like me to show you how to use your quadratic solver on your calculator, I'll be happy to. But you'll have to remember when we get there. Did I say I like this question? I like this? I like this question. I like this question. I like. Question 6, will you marry me? I really, really like this question. Cole, you pick up on the hint? It also, I just like, it's not difficult in terms of the plug and chug physics. You really got to be paying attention though. Example 7. Is this the last one? I think this is the last one. Yep. A ball is thrown from a 360 meter high cliff, hits the ground 6 seconds later. Okay. Fahim, what's this asking me to find? Pretty obvious. Yeah, this is why I told you one of the nice things about physics word problems is pretty obvious what they're asking you to find. You don't have to do too much head scratching. So, Fahim, let's go VI equals question mark. Hey, what's that 6? Oh, are we in free fall? A is negative 9.8. What else do I know? What is the displacement? Yes, Fahim, I knew I could count on you. Thank you. Okay. Will this always be negative? No, if you're standing on the cliff and ending up above from where you're starting because you're throwing it up that way, positive. But, yeah. Hey, which equation, kiddo? Okay, Fahim, get the VI by itself. Talk me through it. I gave you a tough one, by the way, but I think you can handle it. Go systematically. What's going to drop down? You're going to write that down. Do your adding and subtracting next. What are we going to add and or subtract? Yes. Then do your multiplying or dividing. Yeah. Oh, and then you would deal with brackets if there were any, but there aren't in this one. There you go. By the way, if I get a positive answer, I know I threw it upwards from the cliff and then it went whooshing past me. If I get a negative answer, I know I leaned forward and threw it downwards. I don't know, but that'll tell me. Negative 360 minus 0.5, negative 9.8. 6 squared, all divided by 6. Are you pretty clear? Do I need to keep repeating? Is this a fraction? Brackets around the... you know what? I will for a little while longer. Is this a fraction? Brackets around the top. Don't need brackets around the bottom. Oh! I got negative 30.6. Anyone else? Yeah. Which way did I throw this? Upwards or downwards? Must have leaned forward and thrown it down. And Aiden, are you seeing why I'm being more meticulous with my vector notation just to remind myself, pay attention to directions, especially Fahim, displacements. If they give you a cliff height, usually when you use that, if you're ending up on the ground, it'll be negative. Ooh, what's its impact velocity? I guess now it wants me to find VF. Do I have an equation that has a T, an A, a D, and a VF in it? I don't think I do. So, ladies and gentlemen, we finally reached the point where I think you've learned enough physics and you've gotten good enough at this that if you want to, you can use an answer to find an answer. We're going to have to use our answer from part A. We're going to go VF equals VI plus AT. Could also have gone VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AT. Well, for Pete's sake, let's use the easier one. It's got the VF by itself. No squareds. VF is going to be negative 30.6 plus negative 9.8 times 6. I'm lazy. Answer button. Plus negative 9.8 times 6. Oh, Am I expecting an answer in magnitude bigger than 30.6 or smaller than 30 points? I better be bigger because it's going to hit the ground faster because it's fallen. Yes? Negative 89.4. That works for me. Meters per second. Is that all right? So that's some of the stuff that we can do with Freefall. I have a video, but first of all, you can try number 1. Oh, it says report to the correct number of sig figs. No, but units, yes. You'll have to do this on a separate piece of paper, I think. 3 is good. Put a star next to number 4. Haven't talked about number 4 yet. This is again to see if you can have the, I see it moment. Okay? I told you I don't cover everything in the lesson. Cover most of it and try and give you a chance to figure some of this stuff out on your own. 5 is good. 6 is good. 7 is good. Skipping 8. You can tell when I created this handout because Roberto Luongo still played for the Canucks. So what was that, in 2011 or something? I don't know. 2010? So we skipped 8. I should cross that out, I guess. Oh. 10 is good. Put a star next to D. Haven't talked about that one yet. This is again to give you a chance to see if you can, the answer is 24.5, figure out a way to get that. Yeah, I'm not wild about 11. 12 is good. 13 is good. Put a little star next to it. Haven't talked about this one yet. You'll have to think about it a little bit. Ball is thrown vertically at this. I'll skip 14. I like 15. Put a star next to number 16. I haven't talked about that one yet. 17 is good. 18 is good. 19 is good. Put a star next to number 19. Okay.